Welcome back to Cliffside for another casted game. On the north side of the cliff this time we have Korean in the yellow as the Mongols, and on the south side of the cliffs in the teal we have our French friend as the French. So now you guys will know Mongols and French, the blue flags. We all know how I feel about them, but we're not going to hold them against these guys. I've played some games with the Korean, and he's a great guy, so don't hold the Mongols against him, please. I beseech you. So looking at the scouting, I think Korean is doing exactly what you'd normally expect of the Mongols. So his Khan is going around the base. He's trying to get some information. He's sent out his little hawk, his falcon, to try and see what's cracking in the French base. And our French friend is actually doing what I would consider to be the standard scouting path on this map. So the sheep usually tend to spawn around the markets. And so there's usually there and then around the sides, basically. So that's where you want to go, down the sides and around. So there's going to be a few down by the other market on the opposite side, so I can see I'm having a little look around while you're watching the scouts. There's 4 or 5 over there as well as around each of their bases. So we can see though on the Mongol side, Korean has got his Uvu at the front and he's got a barracks going down, so it does look like we are going to be seeing the classic Mongol tower, or at least some Dark Age shenanigans. And the French are responding with their own barracks, so they're also defending this with some spears. So this is one of the ways that you can do this. So I see people approaching a tower rush or Dark Age in very different ways. Obviously, if they come to try and tower you, it depends where your gold is. So we can see the French side, their gold is super forward. It's basically right under Korean's nose, which for him is great. So normally, if it were closer, you'd probably see the French just doing a villager pull, getting their 200 stone, pulling off, and then they can get to the feudal age and make archers and take down the tower and all that kind of stuff. But this is also another approach, so getting a couple of spears out so that when they try and tower, you can go over there and you can stop the tower going up, and then you can focus on that. So I do think potentially the French probably wanted to try and get some gold a little bit faster to try and so that they don't have to worry about that and they can pull back later if the defense doesn't work. This, I think, is a very all-in tower defense, because if the defense doesn't work, they're stuck in Dark Age and Korean isn't, because he's already moving out onto the gold. So it looks like we can see there's 3 spears in the center ready to come across, and we've got 4 spears on the defense. So it does look like it's fairly even at this stage, but where's the villager? So obviously we're expecting a tower rush, but where is it? There isn't one? Very strange. So actually maybe Korean's changed his mind because there's no villager going across, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously having these units isn't bad for the French. Then if he decides to go to Keshiks or something like that, then obviously he's got the defense, and we can see that now he's decided to go on gold. I definitely think he wants to be doing a bit more than that on gold, just the 2. There we go, up to 4, but this is also the problem. We can see the French are continuously producing spears now, and this is where it gets a bit tricky, because if you overcommit in Dark Age and you make too many spears, then Korean can basically just transition, go straight to the feudal age, and then he's going to be in real trouble. So we can see that Korean is pushing in now with those spears, trying to get some damage, and it's even 6 on 6, so it's all going to be about the micro. It looks like the French are coming off with some good hits there, trying to take out those low health units, but the Khan is also on the backside, so 5 and 5 now apiece. Reinforcements coming in, so this is where the defender's advantage is going to favour the French, but it does look like, oh yeah, it looks like Korean came off a little bit worse on that particular skirmish, but again, there's still no villager gone across, so it looks like he's actually kind of baited the French into going for this, because he could have already been in the feudal age, he could have got that gold, and then even if you wanted to go for knights, you can just ignore it for the time being. I think that's kind of absolutely fine. But we can see that both players now are macroing for the feudal age. Now, this map for the French is really good, because we can see the School of Cavalry exactly like you'd expect. You can get those knights out and then you can raid them into oblivion, because the map is really open. You've got the sacred site in the middle with some of these little cliffs, but your bases spawn really close together. So obviously the Mongol TC is a little bit further back this time because they can move it. But if you see where we are here, so we've got the TC here, and you're basically one screen away, unless you've got a crazy 25 1,000-inch screen is just into the center. So actually, to get your knights across here is only a couple of seconds. It's really, really good. And it's very difficult to wall up this map. So you've got a couple of wood lines. So let's watch these spears having at it. So a couple of low health ones. The French ones slowly getting overwhelmed there. Korean is pushing these numbers up while he's working to the feudal age. A bit too much gold at this stage, so I'm not sure whether he's planning on spending that on something, but I think he's really trying to focus on denying the French gold, because as we all know, French without gold means French without knights, which means a weak French. So this is definitely what he's trying to do. So that's why I was kind of expecting a tower, because if we look at the spawn, his second forward gold is here. So one tower here would deny the deer, would deny, and basically two gold veins, which would be really good. And then the other one you could quite easily tower here, and then basically there's no gold at the back at all. So this spawn really for the French is pretty bad. But he's about to hit the feudal age, and Korean is miles behind, so he's planning on sticking it out in the Dark Age for a little while longer. I haven't seen Mongols playing this heavy in the Dark Age for a long while, actually. Since the nerfs to the stone and the Uvu and stuff, it's been much more popular, I think, to just go with maybe a little harass into the feudal age and go for Mangadai and all that stuff. But, you know, what do I know? He doesn't have enough wood for a tower, so I'd definitely be thinking about that if I were him, trying to maybe put a tower on this outside over here, or even just double towering it so you can really protect that gold, because then you can get more of these knights. But with these 10 spears, even though they are Dark Edge, they are going to be able to protect those villagers pretty well. Now, let's talk about this map for the Mongols. We talked about it for the French. Everyone loves raiding with knights, so, you know, he's going to be living his best life. For Mongols, it's a bit of a weird one, because trade can be okay, but the markets spawn in the center of the map. You can see on the mini map they spawn, let's keep an eye on this action, they spawn in the center, so you can't really do a full length trade like you normally would, so you end up seeing some sort of diagonal trade, which is a bit harder to defend because it ends up being closer to the action. It goes through your base. It's a bit harder to hide, because obviously with trade you do kind of often want to hide it like that. But we can see Deerstone's going up with, okay, I was wondering why it was only 2 villagers. 9 villagers going to be building that up, and I think that's the right call on this one. Against the French, they've already got knights on the field. You don't really want to be going into trade, but the French build, they're doing it, and I don't know if it's the right call in this matchup. We have professional scouts in queue. So the French do get a discount to their eco techs and their military techs. So obviously the pro scouts for them is going to be a little bit cheaper. If we see 179 for him, and we go to the Gur, then we can see it's 275. So it's quite a lot cheaper. But so we can see the scout over here is already waiting, and more scouts are coming out of the School of Cavalry. So it looks like he's going to be trying to get these deer packs pretty sharpish. So the spawn on this map actually is really weird, because normally this is what you would see. So, and he's already killed all of the deer. That's going to make his life a bit of a pain. So the shift Q, if we see here, we'll watch this scout, because these scouts are going to do it in a second. So they're going to shift Q around here once Pro Scouts is done, which it is, and they're going to automatically be able to pick up all of these bad boys. And if we take a little look from his vision, you'll be able to see they're all queued. These ones, you can't actually do that now, because they won't automatically bring them home because they're dead. So this is kind of a little cheeky way of annoying a pro scouter, if you like. But it's really weird, because normally with the market you normally get the deer and the boar around the market, so you've got the deer here, but the other deer's right at the back in this corner. This is like one of the weirdest cliffside spawns I've seen in a long time, because we've got a deer and a boar in the center here. But you know, is what it is, and the French are going pro scouts, and obviously Korean isn't. He's going for some Keshiks, and I think he's going to be focusing on denying that. So I'm surprised these spears haven't moved out into the deer packs to try and basically just harass those scouts and try and slow them down, because in the recent patch these guys are a lot slower. I think it was a 10% nerf to their movement speed, so they are going to be a lot easier to hit and to annoy with any units basically. So we've got some spears here trying to defend against raids. There we go. Korean doing a nice job stopping the brace and pulling out, making sure he keeps these Keshiks alive, which is definitely the right call. We've got some walls going up here to protect. And this is again where it is like, yes, okay, you can protect your wood line a little bit here, but then the whole of the bottom of your base is exposed. So if Korean can use the Mongol mobility to his advantage, I think that's going to work really, really nicely. So we can also see that he's going for pro scouts as well. So I guess if you can't beat them, join them. So a little bit delayed, and obviously that's going to cause a problem because we can see that we've already got 6 over here. So these deer are already being taken as well. These ones have almost been hoovered up, so there isn't much deer left on the field. There's this one at the back, but so Korean's going to have to try and get some value from that tech, and his sheep running away trying to keep those guys alive. But there is a scout, and of course he's going to run over and he's going to steal these. So I'm sorry guys, but I think it looks like you're going to be changing teams very, very swiftly. There we go. They are now on the teal team. Over on the Mongol side, we can see some more Keshiks, and we can also see archery ranges. So I'm guessing that we're going to be seeing these bad boys. Maybe... Oh, well, I guess not. We're going archers, but Mangadite, I know a lot of Mongol players really enjoyed going for those because you've got the mobility with the Keshiks, then you've got the Khan Hunters that give them extra range, so that's really nice, and they just annoy you. The little mosquitoes that fly around your head and just cause trouble. But we've got chivalry coming in. We've only 4 knights at this stage, so obviously preemptively, I guess, planning to go more heavily into knights and keep these guys alive, but it's quite a lot of resources when you've only got those few numbers. But it does look like from the macro we're looking at a castle switch from the French, so an interesting play. He's obviously got a lot of food under his TC now, and he's going for the Royal Institute, so this all is telling me that he's going to be going for lots and lots of knights, which we all knew. He's the French, you know, let's not state the obvious. But the Royal Institute is really interesting because it gives you those university techs early and it gives you a discount, so that's usually what you want to be doing. The Keshiks here trying to deny it, but it's a little bit late. I think that whole pack has basically been hoovered up, and the one at the back is still being taken even at this stage, guarded by the knights. So the pro scouts for the French is really paying off at this stage, and Korean is very much in his base. A lot of gold, not a huge amount of food at this stage, so it looks like his TC is now idle. He does have pro scouts, so obviously he's going to be bringing these deer home, but I'm not sure it's worth... I guess you get the value back, but, you know, for 1 deer pack, it seems like quite a lot of cost when you could just stick a gur there and, you know, then it's fine. But, you know, what do I know? These guys are Conqueror, so, you know, they know better than me. But we've got a blacksmith coming down for that tech, and obviously we get the free... +1 melee automatically, so as soon as we hit the castle age in a second, then that +2 is also going to be going in, so giving those knights that extra melee attack. There we go. And here we are with the Royal Institute. Now this is the spicy one. That's exactly what I was going to say. We want to do this one. Royal Bloodlines giving them that extra health, which makes those knights even more tanky, and then you've got Cantled Saddles, which gives the bonus charge damage. But it does look like Korean is also going to have to be a little bit careful now as well, because the French have now got access to the Arbitriers, and they are insane. They're super, super good, and with the Royal Institute, you've also got those extra benefits, those extra bonuses. So a very infantry-heavy comp here. We can see lots of spears coming across, trying to make contact with those knights, but the French pulling away just at the right time, trying to whittle them down. And I think this is definitely going to be a matter of who can keep those knights. If he can keep the spears on the knights, then it's going to be really bad for the French. And oh, I don't know if this is the right engagement for the French. Those knights are getting melted by the spears, and oh, that's... Any advantage they had from having those knights and getting that castle age has just evaporated in a matter of seconds. All of those knights, this is where those spearmen mass, it felt like a bit of an overinvestment earlier on, but it's paid off massively now. The dividends have come in, and Korean is loving life. All of those knights are getting chased down, and even the ones coming out of the School of Cavalry are still getting damaged. So if we take a little look now, the military difference is huge, and even though they are castle age, they are going to have the upgrades, and it looks like the French are doing pretty well at coming in with those charges, but a couple of braces, 2 more knights going down, and villagers getting caught out with the tower burnt down as well as the Mongols getting the resources for burning that down as well, which I think a lot of people often forget about. So also now, if this mining camp goes down, that's also going to be extra resources for Korean as well. He's not thinking about the castle age though. We can see there's not a lot of food there, and there's a huge amount from French, so this is really interesting. The pro scouts has paid off for him, that he's got a ton of food, but he doesn't have anything else. he's got no gold. He's not shifted onto any other gold, and I think this is where the planning ahead is really starting to hurt the French. This food numbers, they need to be switching to some other resource, and I think this is where he can't produce anything now, this apart from horsemen, where we can see a couple of these, but against spears, horsemen, yeah, don't really cut it. So I think we're going to need to see the French trying to find some other resources. Yeah, moving out onto this gold is exactly where I thought he would be, but he's going to have to secure it somehow, because all it's going to take is these units to circle around, and then that gold is going to be denied as well, because now all Korean has to do is just keep him off the gold. As soon as he can do that, then I think even with that castle age, even with those improved knights and techs, he's going to be in real trouble. And I don't think men-at-arms is the call. I don't think one men-at-arms is going to do it. It's the Keshiks are going to gobble him up for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We've got more horsemen coming in on the back, and we've got stone, I'm guessing for a keep, because that will reduce the cost, and also it may be defensible. So it looks like he's probably going to place a keep either here defensively or try and do a really greedy keep out on the gold. But it's I think potentially one thing that we could see the French doing at this stage is grabbing a load of villagers and just sneaking out onto one of these golds, like really out of the way, like all the way over here or something, just sticking it down here and trying to get a couple over here, maybe a couple over here, and just hoping he can get the numbers, because it looks like Korean is just continuing to mass up. He's getting his military techs, he's also got some of his eco techs in the bag already, and he's trying to take down these production buildings, because as soon as they go down, not only is he getting resources, but he is also going to be stopping those reinforcements. So these 9 military units for the French are not going to be increasing, and that's another production building down. So the TC is in range, so they might be able to torch down this little corner over here without getting caught by it, but maybe if they're garrisoned, it would just about do it. You obviously get a few extra tiles when it's garrisoned, but let's take a little look. We can see that Korean is actually already on 2 TC himself. We can see that French have now just dropped their TC as well, so villager numbers are looking pretty solid, and the French he's not re-macroing. He's really heavy on the food. There's no market, so he's not trying to equalize his economy there. More production going up at the back, so I'm imagining the keep that he's clearly trying to get is going to go up around here somewhere. So it looks like he's finally... Oh, they just garrisoned the villagers, so they're still chewing on that venison, but I think this is really interesting. So it looks now like Korean has decided he's set up his pastures, he's getting his food econ going, he's got his little TC boom going nicely. So he's not going to overtake the French, because obviously the French do have that increased production, but it does mean that he's going to keep up, and the 2 TC French isn't going to overtake him eventually, which I think is really good. But as we can see, this is what I was saying, you've got to secure that gold, because now even if a Korean loses some units, if he can keep them off this gold. Now, the French aren't thinking about Imperial, surely. That's a huge amount of food, and even with the gold, he wouldn't risk that, would he? Surely. Hopefully this archery range gets built to get some arbitriers. That will do a lot of damage, but it looks like Korean is trying to push from the other side to get some damage in the base. All of that deer has now gone, even with that food in the bank, so farm transition, that's costing a lot of resources, and you've got a lot of food in the bank. So at the moment, I think Korean's macro very heavy on the gold, but as soon as he gets to the castle age, he's going to be able to spend that like no one's business. So the Mongols know what to do with their gold. I don't think he's worried about that in particular. So we can see all of those upgrades coming in immediately, and we've got horticulture, we've got the Uvu doing the Uvu things, and we've got the Kurultai. So this is now going to make a big difference to those engagements, because all he has to do is plop it down in a really nice spot like here, and then he can take a fight right under the TC, and he's going to be living his best life. So it looks like the French are trying to get back on that front gold. I think they're overestimating the power of their military at this stage. I'd definitely be moving somewhere else if I were them, but we can see here Korean is keeping some scouts on the back, trying to figure out where they're going, but this spawn is definitely hurting the French with all of this gold in the center, and this can be the problem with Cliffside. If you're unlucky, then like here now, this tower, this is it. this is starting to deny this central. So if I were Korean, I'd be thinking about sticking a tower over here to deny this one, sticking a tower on all of these gold veins just to basically just stop them going anywhere. And even if he doesn't put the emplacements in, he's going to know exactly when he's on gold, because this one isn't going to last forever. And he's just got to be careful that he doesn't start getting outmassed, because the French economy has had all of that deer for a long time, so it should overall be a little bit better. And we can see here that Korean is out, moving out onto the berries. He's on the ball at the top side, but big fight coming in under the TC now. He's trying to tower it. The French trying to put a tower there to defend it, but yeah, that's a bit ambitious, doing the villager pull, trying to get that tower up, but with that number of melee units, I don't think that tower's going to last 5 seconds if it does get up. So yeah, I'm not sure I'd be risking going for this front tower again. It's kind of making it easier for Korean at this stage. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, but the numbers starting to look a little bit even, so Korean actually giving the French a little bit of breathing room here, a little bit of time to maneuver, but because the Kurultai is on its way. And where is it going? Right in here, nicely. So this is going to mean that he can fight under this very, very nicely. All of his units getting healed up. So pulling the Keshiks out before they take the healing, so maybe sitting there for a second just to get them healing up would be really good, because how much healing do we get? So yeah, +1 every second. That's pretty decent. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, 60 health every minute when you've got 100 health is a lot. And we can see, here we go, Keshiks diving under the TC, idling up that gold once again. All of that food also has now evaporated, so it does look like he's going to have to farm transition. And the keep has gone up, so this production is going to be reduced in cost now, which is going to work nicely for him. But pushing on 2 sides with that raid, the arbitrator is doing quite a lot of damage, but with these number of spears, even with ranged units, you're not going to be able to take those. And the villagers now getting caught out by those reinforcements running into the base. And yeah, and there's a bit of an overextension, but taking out that tower is going to be a lot of damage, because there are 5 villagers in there, and they pulled out just to be hit by the archers. Ay, that's not what you want. And the Keshiks coming back in for another charge on the bottom side. French villagers going down like flies. 27 villagers taken out at this stage, and no Mongol villagers have even been tickled by the French army. We can see here that the French military is starting to look a little bit stronger. Not too much cavalry, a lot of arbitriers, which is very good. They're obviously very strong, especially with their Pavis shield, which they've already activated. That gives them that extra range, but I don't think you want to be taking this fight. All of that cavalry on spears, I definitely think maybe even considering switching away from the cavalry at this stage. It potentially could work, but the Keshik's going to come in on the backside, and even with the anti-melee, anti-armor from the arbitriers, I don't think they're going to have it. And it looks like Korean is taking this fight, and the French military is just evaporating under the healing of the Kurultai, and they call it a masterclass in denying French gold, denying French knights, and winning the game. But I hope you've enjoyed this casted game, and I'll see you next time for some more crazy Conqueror action.